Welcome to The Deep Dive. This is where we take material you've shared with us and, well, we dive deep, extracting the core knowledge and insights.
That's right.
And today, we're jumping into an excerpt you sent us from Anne Perry's novel, The Sins of the Wolf.
Mm,
So, listener, our mission here is to walk through this opening section together, get a handle on the key characters, the setting, and start to piece together this mystery that takes a pretty dark turn surprisingly quickly.
exactly. And this piece, it just drops us right into Victorian Edinburgh, doesn't it? We see it through the eyes of Hester Latterly.
Right, the nurse.
Yeah, the nurse. And her time in the Crimean War, well, you have to assume that's really shaped how she views things, especially life and death.
Sure.
She's in Edinburgh for what seems like a straightforward job,
Yeah.
accompanying Mrs. Mary Farraline, who's unwell, to London.
Sounds simple enough.
But, well, as we're about to find out, it's anything but simple.
Okay, so let's start right there. Hester arrives, Edinburgh. Perry really paints a picture, the castle looming, the sea in the distance.
It's very atmospheric.
It is. And what's interesting is Hester feels this sense of adventure. Even though the task itself is, well, kind of ordinary, it feels like a bit of a clash.
Yeah, and that contrast, I think it tells us something about Hester right away.
Like what?
Well, she's not cynical, is she? Despite everything she's seen, she still has this curiosity. Maybe she's even looking for something
Yeah,
more.
than just a nursing job.
Exactly. And maybe that openness, that resilience, maybe that's going to be important later. We even get that tiny glimpse, at the station.
Oh, right, with Alexander and his wife.
Yeah, just a flash of irritation. But it kind of plants a seed, doesn't it? Maybe things aren't quite right in this family circle.
So she gets to the Farraline house, meets the butler, McTeer, formalities.
Standard stuff.
And then she meets Mrs. Una MacIver, Mary Farraline's daughter-in-law.
And the description there focuses a lot on the family resemblance, right? To the portrait in the hall.
It does. The long face, the nose. Perry notes this power in Una's face that Hester thinks is only sort of hinted at in the painting. What do you make of that?
Well, it makes you wonder about appearances versus reality, maybe.
Yeah.
A portrait is static, fixed.
Right.
But Hester's seeing a living person. Una's power could be strength, force of will, something the painting just can't capture.
And Una clarifies who's in the portrait.
Yeah, she says it's her father, Hamish Farraline. Died 8 years ago,
Mm.
and now her husband runs the firm.
Did you notice that slight catch in her voice when she mentioned him?
I did, yeah. It suggests there's still emotion there, maybe responsibility tied to him or the business.
Okay, so then finally she meets the patient, Mrs. Mary Farraline.
And the first impression is actually quite warm, isn't it?
It is. Mary seems genuinely pleased, offers tea, shortbread. It feels welcoming.
A bit of a contrast to that undercurrent we sensed earlier.
Definitely. But that pleasant feeling doesn't last entirely, does it?
No, the little hints start building up. Like Deirdre, another family member, being really curious about Hester's time in the Crimea.
Which seems innocent enough at first.
Right. But then it leads to Una asking that really perceptive question.
About England feeling restrictive after the freedom Hester had in the Crimea.
Exactly. It's very astute. Almost like Una feels something similar, Despite her different circumstances, it hints at this potential shared feeling of being confined.
That's a great point. It's like she's probing, maybe looking for an ally, someone who gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And Hester's own thoughts confirm that, right? She misses the trust, the responsibility she had during the war. And she even wonders if Una feels trapped, too.
It's a subtle moment, but yeah, it suggests this potential connection.
Then the conversation shifts, and we hear about Quinlan, Eilish's husband.
Right, and there's some gossip mentioned. Una's quick to shut that down, says it's unreliable, and Eilish herself silent.
Yeah, that's noticeable. Makes you wonder about the gossip, and maybe about Eilish's marriage, too. Is it important or just noise?
Hard to tell at this stage. But it adds to the feeling that not everything is out in the open.
And these little conversational bits keep piling up. Hector's gloomy comment about Alistair being unhappy.
And Mary wishing something was over and done with.
Yeah. Definitely sounds like some past argument or issue is still causing problems. We don't know what, but the peace feels fragile.
We also see differences about medical care. Una seems quite dismissive of Connell Murdoch's doctor.
While Griselda, the daughter in London, is worried about her mother traveling.
Right. It could just be different personalities, or maybe it hints at deeper anxieties about Mary's health or trust issues within the family branches.
And that Galbraith case keeps coming up.
Mm-hmm. Mary asks if it's being reopened. Deirdre's surprised as Alistair claimed there wasn't enough evidence.
Then Hector has that really dramatic reaction to the portrait, that venomous glance.
Yeah, that felt significant. And the comment about Mary being able to sober him, it paints a really complex picture.
Especially about Hector's relationship with the past, with Hamish maybe.
Yeah.
His reaction to the portrait is intense. Resentment, guilt, something.
Agreed. It suggests really deep feelings tied to Hamish. And the fact that Mary could influence him so strongly, even just her name, that could be important, shows her power in the family.
Okay, so leaving to the dinner scene, the tension feels even higher here.
Definitely. Hector's brooding. Eilish is still silent, withdrawn.
And Mary brings up the Galbraith case again.
And Alistair just snaps, doesn't he?
He really does, shuts it down hard, accuses his wife of spreading gossip, damaging reputations. It's quite harsh.
Very defensive.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, right? Someone innocent might not react quite so strongly.
Exactly. Is he just protective of the family name, or is there something specific about the Galbraith case he wants buried? His reaction definitely makes him interesting.
And then later, that business with the man seen leaving the house late at night.
Oh yeah, that was odd.
It raises suspicion. And Alistair's reaction towards Eilish then, very possessive.
Territorial almost.
Yeah. It adds another layer. Potential marital issues. His controlling nature. It all feeds into this atmosphere of unease.
And Mary's just trying to keep the peace through it all, wanting a pleasant meal before they leave. Like she's constantly managing these tensions.
It seems that way. So then they finally get on the journey. And the focus shifts a bit more towards Hester and Mary.
Right. Hester's thinking about the Crimea again, how different it was from the superficial questions people often ask.
Sets some more thoughtful mood. And reminds us of Hester's own baggage, her past.
And Mary really connects with her then, doesn't she? She asks gently about distressing memories.
Shows real empathy. And then she tells that story. The Burke and Hare one.
Ugh. Yeah. Pretty grim. And kind of chilling looking back now. Foreshadowing, maybe.
It certainly feels like it could be, doesn't it? Given what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe suggesting hidden dangers, malice lurking beneath the surface like Burke and Hare themselves.
Could be. Mary also asks about Hester's brother, the one lost at Waterloo. It shows she's really trying to understand Hester.
Absolutely. It builds that connection, that trust between them. And their conversation on the train, it becomes quite personal.
Sharing stories, laughing. You feel a real bond forming.
Mm-hmm. And Mary's questions about Hester's life after the war, particularly about Monk and Rathbone.
Yeah, the ex-policeman turned private agent and the barrister, Mary seemed really interested in them.
It felt like more than just idle chat. Like she was trying to gauge Hester's character, maybe, by the company she keeps, assessing her judgment.
That makes sense, especially given what happens next.
Right, because it's right in the middle of this developing closeness, this seemingly safe journey.
That Mary is found dead on the train. Just like that.
It's incredibly abrupt. Shocking.
And the scene immediately after? Chaos. The conductor's reaction, Hester's own shock and grief, it's a complete pivot.
Utter devastation. And then they get to the station in London and Mary's daughter Griselda is there.
And her grief turns into accusations very quickly.
Yeah, aimed right at Hester. And seemingly pushed by her husband, Connell Murdoch, as we figure out later. It's immediately hostile.
Blaming the outsider. Classic mystery setup, I suppose. But still, Hester's calm denials don't seem to matter. Suspicion lands right on her.
And you have to ask, is Murdoch's reaction just grief and anger? Or is there something else driving it? His intensity is notable. It puts Hester in a terrible spot.
So she needs help. She goes to her friend in London, Calandra Davio.
And Calandra is immediately concerned. Hester explains the situation, Mary dying while in her care.
And then the brooch.
Ah, yes, the missing brooch, Mary's brooch, suddenly turning up in Hester's bag.
Which looks incredibly bad for Hester.
Extremely bad. It's the classic planted evidence, isn't it? Makes her look like a thief, at the very least.
Yeah.
And given the death, much worse.
But Calandra doesn't buy it.
No, she immediately suspects a setup. Her faith in Hester is strong, and she knows something's wrong. You can feel Hester's panic, though.
Understandably. Calandra's belief is key here. She insists they get help, William Monk, the investigator.
And Oliver Rathbone, the barrister. They need to figure this out and clear Hester's name.
So they rush off to Rathbone's office. You can feel the urgency.
Hester gives him the rundown, and Rathbone's assessment. Malice. Deliberate malice.
His first advice is practical. Get the brooch, tell the estate, try to manage it.
But things move too fast. Sergeant Daly from the Metropolitan Police shows up.
Because of the daughter, Griselda, reported the missing jewelry.
Exactly. So Daly goes to Calandra's house, searches Hester's things,
And finds the brooch, right where someone presumably planted it.
and just like that, it's official. Theft. Hester protests, says she's innocent, but
She's arrested. It escalates so quickly from suspicion to actual arrest.
and finding herself in prison. It must be terrifying. Isolated. Even the way the wardress treats her is uncertain.
Meanwhile, Rathbone tries to talk sense into Connell Murdoch.
But fails.
Yeah.
Murdoch is sticking to his guns. And Griselda, even though she seems distressed, she defers to him, shows his influence.
Rathbone then has to tell Hester in prison how serious it is. He can't promise anything easy, just his best effort, and stresses she needs to cooperate fully.
It's a grim situation. Sets the stage for a legal fight.
But then it gets even worse, unbelievably worse.
Yeah. Sergeant Daly comes back to Rathbone with news from the post-mortem.
Mary Farraline didn't die of natural causes.
2 medicine vials were empty. Not one. Meaning the charge against Hester is no longer theft. It's murder.
Wow. Just wow. That is a massive escalation. Rathbone shocked. We're shocked.
Completely changes everything. And Monk returns right around then. Rathbone has to urgently fill him in.
And we learn more details about Griselda, too, right? Newly married, first baby on the way, worried about her health.
Yes, and that was the whole reason Mary was traveling, to reassure her daughter. It just adds more layers of potential motive, family stress.
Monk must be furious.
Oh, you can imagine. Anger, frustration. But he's immediately focused on helping Hester. Rathbone's worried about involving Eilish somehow, but Monk overrides that.
And he starts grilling Hester, right, about the family.
Instantly. Sharp questions. Wants to know about their personalities, the relationships, the dynamics, especially Alistair, Una, Hector, how they related to Mary. He's starting his own investigation, clearly.
Identifying the weak spots, maybe, the potential suspects within the family itself.
Exactly. And then, bang, he's off to Edinburgh, decisive action. Goes straight to the source.
Leaving Rathbone in London with the job of telling Hester's brother, Charles.
Yeah, poor Charles. Disbelief, horror, pity, and the realization he probably can't afford a top defense for her. It just highlights how alone Hester really is in this.
So let's just recap. Hester arrives for a simple job, walks into a house full of tension. Her patient dies suddenly on the train.
And boom, Hester the outsider is arrested, framed, and now accused of murder.
So the big questions are hanging there, aren't they? Was Mary's death an accident? Did she take her own life? Or was it murder?
And if it was murder, who did it? And why go to such lengths to frame Hester?
So, having gone through this first part of the story with us, listener, what's sticking out to you? Is there a character, a comment, a detail that feels particularly significant or suspicious? What are your first thoughts about this family and what really happened to Mary?
What's your gut feeling right now?
And maybe one last thought to leave you with. This started as such an ordinary task, a nursing assignment, and escalated incredibly fast to a murder charge. What does that tell us, maybe, about the secrets and dangers that can hide just beneath the surface of everyday life? What clues might be hiding in those seemingly small details we encountered?